The whole thing.
Yeah, hard to follow that. Yeah, so my name is Tony Sanches. I went to COMICON a few weeks ago at the Jacob Javits Center. That's where I and 30,000 other nerds get our freak on with everything related to comics or videos or sci-fi. Now I stopped wearing spandex in 2012, but almost everybody that goes to this show is dressed in a costume, has a mask, and a lot of people are carrying guns and swords and axes as part of their costume. And I really think we should have like a mental health assessment table, you know, just to make sure nobody's bringing in like real weapons who are a little unstable. But then I looked across the group and I said, you know, how are we going to know of all these costume crusaders who's a little bit off? It's very difficult. So I, like hundreds of other fans, waited in line to meet Millie Bobby Brown. She's the 12-year-old star of the Netflix series Stranger Things. You know, see a blank look here. Okay. So anyhow, I wait an hour. I get to the front of the line, and the big burly bouncer says, "You are not to touch Bobby. You are not to speak to Bobby. You are not to try to give her anything." And I'm like, what type of fucking weirdos are coming to this show, you know? I'm just a 53-year-old married father of 3 with a Captain America t-shirt trying to meet my 12-year-old idol. Towards the end of the show, my cell phone runs out of power, so I go to the charging station. There's a nice young man there. I'm talking to him for a little bit. And I notice he takes out his Fantastic Four issue 52 out of the plastic sleeve. You know, the first edition with Silver Surfer? More blank looks. Okay, so anyhow, he takes the comic out of the plastic sleeves, he's admiring it, and then I see he puts it up to his nose. He takes a deep whiff. Taking a deep whiff of the 1965 classic comic as if he was taking a line of Coke. I say, hey brother, let me take a hit of that. So my daughter, Nicole, she graduated from a very prestigious New England prep school, and I thought it would be great to have my 91-year-old Nana join me. She came to this country from Puerto Rico in the 50s to live the American dream, and now her great-granddaughter is going to graduate from the same school as Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. What a great experience. Only problem is a school built in 1843 is not that conducive for getting a 91-year-old woman around the campus. The first event was the blessing at the Congregational Church, and by the time I got my grandmother and my Nana out of the car, walked her to the church, got her into the narrow pew, the event was over. A very nice young student brought a wheelchair for us to get around. I'm like, this is great, we're on track, we're gonna go to all the events. So as I'm pushing my grandmother in the wheelchair, the sidewalks are not really that even. So you can imagine what happens. I'm pushing my grandmother along, and suddenly we hit the crack in the sidewalk, and she starts to shoot out of the wheelchair like a projectile. I'm giving my cat-like reflexes. I grab her and save her from breaking her neck. But now I'm a little jittery about the rest of the day. We get to the library fountains for refreshments, which is really made up of lemonade and cucumber sandwiches. So my grandmother's like, Anthony, something's wrong with my sandwich. There's no meat. So my nerves were jangling there. I said, you know what? Let me take Nana back to the hotel so she can rest because the graduation was actually the next day. So I confirmed with my wife, we have reservations at the Marriott. I get to the Marriott, take my grandmother out of the car, into the lobby, unload the 13 pieces of luggage because it's for her, me, and the rest of my family, go park the car. When I get up to the front desk, I'm informed there's no reservations for Sanches. I say, I throw a fit. I say, look, we've made these reservations weeks ago. We've paid for the rooms. As soon as my wife gets here with the paperwork, we'll figure it out. But I got to get my Nana into the room. She's tired. So the clerk accommodates me, gets the rooms ready. And just as he's giving me the keys to the rooms, my wife calls. Hey, sweetie, how's it going? It's the Hilton, not the Marriott. What did you say? I made a mistake. It's the Hilton, not the Marriott. Oh, and by the way, I have Nana's walker in my car. Okay. I apologize profusely to the clerk and do the whole thing in reverse. Bring the car around, pick the 11 pieces of luggage into the car, bring my grandmother to the car. So when we get to the Hilton, it's a little smoother. I get my grandmother checked into her room. I go to my room, and I realize I still have one of her pieces of luggage, a floral tote bag. So I call her up. I say, Nana, I got your bag. I'll bring it over to you. Anthony, somebody left their toiletry bag in the bathroom. No problem, Nana. I'll go. I'll bring it to the front desk when I get there. When I get to the room, my grandmother says, Anthony, somebody also left their clothes in the closet and their clothes in the dresser and some suitcases. So I realized the clerk has given my grandmother somebody else's room. So I tell my grandmother, you gotta pack, we gotta get out of here, you're in somebody else's room. I run down to the front desk, give the clerk an earful, get a new room, which is on the other side of the hotel. So by the time I get back to the room, my grandmother is frazzled. So now my wife has to walk her in the car, so I have to use the bellhop cart to get to the other side of the hotel. So she's walking, and every 2 steps, and she's breathing hard. She's got to stop every 2 steps, and the breathing's getting more labored, and I'm thinking, holy shit. Instead of the American dream, I'm living a personal nightmare. Graduation kills Nana. So my daughter Nicole and I were looking at colleges. We were down south in Virginia. And Nicole is a beautiful and intelligent young woman. She's got brown olive skin, dark curly hair. She's got an intellectually curious mind. So when she was growing up, she would always do crafts. She would teach herself crafts. So she can actually shear a sheep. She can part the wool. She can spin the wool into yarn and pretty much make anything. So she's definitely a keeper on my survivors team if there's an apocalypse, which seems it's more likely than not, unfortunately. So while we were in Virginia, we stopped at Colonial Williamsburg. People in period costumes, doing all types of crafts, churning butter, knitting, crocheting. And my daughter says to me, you know what? I wish I lived in colonial times so I could do crafting all day long. I thought, here's a teachable moment. I said, sweetie, I'm so sorry. If you lived in colonial times in Virginia, you wouldn't be in the house doing crafts. You'd be out in the fields picking cotton. In fact, because back in the day, if you weren't white, you were black. In fact, if the master wanted to rape you, he probably could any time. And if you got pregnant, the baby would also be a slave. She wasn't too happy with that history lesson. It did get me thinking, what would my life be like during slavery? I gotta tell you, I was in Savannah, Georgia over the summer. The sun is hot. Just walking between stores, I got a little overcome by the heat. I gotta tell you, if I lived in slave times, there's no way I could pick crops in the field. I have very sensitive skin. So, if I lived back in that time, I would have to get one of those house nigger spots, I would really do anything to stay out of the sun. I would snitch on the other slaves. I might help dole out punishment on the slaves. In fact, I'd even give the master a hand job just to stay out of the sun. In fact, I could see myself doing all 3 at once. Master Williams, Missy took an extra piece of corn at dinner. Jessup, stop your crying. You got 20 more lashes to come. Master, a little faster? I know it's sick, but I have sensitive skin.